Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. We have a return guest. It happens once in a while, and it's happening again today. It's Jose Berlanga. We first had him on talking about residential construction, and now we're talking about dirt. His new book is Dirt Rich: Explore the World of Land Investing and Development, and that's what we're about to do right now. This is episode 319 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Jose Berlanga. And Jose is a return guest, and he's returning with a new book, Dirt Rich: Explore the World of Land Investing and Development. He has more than 30 years in construction, development, and all forms of real estate investing. His previous episode was number 211, The Business of Home Building. Jose, welcome back.
Jonathan, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, excited to talk to you again and get into dirt. A lot of times when we're talking dirt, we're talking about land flipping, but I'm excited to talk to you about land use, future development, and everything else that comes with it. When was the first time you did a strictly land deal? Because I know it probably wasn't yesterday.
Well, that's a good question, because I started doing land deals early on.
Yeah.
And how I got into flipping land was to capitalize my construction company. As a matter of fact, there was no intention originally on buying and selling land.
Mm-hmm.
When I got into real estate, and as we talked at some point, I got into real estate for personal reasons, but eventually as an official builder, when we started our company back in the 90s, the land was much less expensive than it is now.
Yeah.
We were speculative investors. We were buying in transitional neighborhoods in the inner city.
Yeah.
Things were a lot easier to get into and a lot less expensive to get into. But as we started growing, we needed cash. And we noticed that at some point, more and more builders were willing to get into these new markets. So we flipped a few deals. We flipped some land only to get some cash back. I leveraged myself to get some cash back to inject into our construction company. That was the origin of us buying and selling land. It was never the original purpose.
Yeah, and I'm sure at the time there was more land available, less developers in the game, but it was good that you had other people who were interested, so you could pass off some of the land, like you said, to jumpstart. And you probably, took the pieces that you liked the best and said, hey, you guys can take these ones that are like, 9th or 10th on our list, right?
Or the ones I couldn't afford.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, yes. Good point.
I took a gamble, which is something very interesting about this business. Sometimes you have to take some risks. And if the timing is right, you'll make a lot of money. If the timing doesn't work out for you, then you're in a lot of trouble. But I went on a shopping spree in my earlier years.
Yeah.
And put myself in a very delicate position, borrowing money, buying some properties that I knew I perhaps didn't have the finances to hold on to for very long. But I took the gamble so that I could flip them soon after, and the gamble worked. So,
yeah, well, you created in it,
and ended up buying some smaller pieces with that capital.
That's smart though at the time, because you were still kind of new to that part of the game, and you developed an inventory and then realized, because if it's a high price land, it's going to be a higher price build as well. So you really, you're adding even more costs on the top. So you're really helping probably more experienced developers at the time, and then maybe you develop a relationship from that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we created some of these inner city markets because as you start buying a couple of properties here and there in neighborhoods where nobody's building,
Yeah.
and the neighbors and everybody else starts noticing that there is some activity, everybody follows. That
Yeah.
seems to be the trend. The
Yeah.
moment somebody decides to invest a little money, a lot of other people, including, but incidentally, the bigger companies, the public companies, where we flip some land, they weren't as interested in the inner city until we put some of these deals together and made it interesting for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what was the feedback from the residents who were kind of old timers at the time? Because when areas start to gentrify, sometimes in the beginning, they're like, hey, we don't want to get pushed out. But then also it's pushing up their property values. And when they see that, they realize they can sell out maybe and move somewhere else or stay and just get the increased equity. What was that, your first kind of taste of that with everyone in the neighborhood when they see great things going up, but maybe their houses aren't of the same quality?
The resistance in certain neighborhoods is bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Particularly in the areas where we started building. We began our journey in areas that were somewhat historical, but they were also very ugly looking. There was a fine line between historical and dilapidated.
Right.
Uh, so there were some restrictions. Some of the inner city neighborhoods that we started building, we felt that it needed a facelift. But the neighborhoods were resisting the change because they didn't want us to raise their property taxes and they didn't want to move.
Yeah.
That is always a resistance. There's a contradiction because some neighbors want their property prices to go up in value because they think that it's a great investment. They're going to sell it, make some money, and move to another area. But some people don't want to move, and they don't want their property taxes to go up. They're happy with the way things are. So we did face some resistance in some of these areas. Now, over the last few decades, most inner city neighborhoods have gotten the memo. They understand that this is very desirable land. These are areas that are in the process of coming back and turning into urban desirable neighborhoods. So it's very different. But when we started, nobody wanted us. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, it still happens when areas gentrify because it does make sense what they're thinking. Things are going to go up in price, but they're also going to go up in value. And so it's really like if they have the equity or they bought it cash very early on for nothing, they can really ride the wave. But yeah, if people are already bought in high in an area that they didn't like that much, they could be in trouble. But they don't realize the nicer homes, nicer area brings in nicer, amenities for that. And then that creates better value, better community. But yeah, I mean, I get their point of view. And that is one of the hardest things about ground up development and development in urban areas, right? Because you're trying to deal with the city and then deal with the residents and make sure that, you're never going to make everyone happy most of the time. Everybody's got something to say.
And by the way, we're very lucky. But most of our activities in Houston, where there's no zoning.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It's a very pro-business environment, but there are some limitations and there are some difficulties. We still have to go through planning, permitting. City planning has to approve everything that we're doing, and every time we're reconfiguring the lot dimensions of any given property. And it's interesting how in these planning sessions and meetings, neighbors will go there and try to block you from developing and building whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. So there is resistance, although very likely in some areas are more are a little easier to execute your work.
Yeah.
You still have to go through the motions, and you still have to face the neighbors and go through some steps. So you have to understand what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve. You have to understand the steps and deal with them. Uh, just because something is allowed, something that I often talk about is performing due diligence, doing the research. Whenever you invest in a piece of land, understand what are your intentions, what is your vision, what it is that you're trying to build, and then start investigating whether it's possible or not, permit wise, development wise, and market wise. Those
Yeah.
are different categories and different subjects.
It certainly helps, though, after you've done a few in the area, because then you know the people in the municipalities, they know your work, they know that you're reliable, you followed the rules the first time, because dealing with municipalities in all contexts can be trouble, but more experience, more relationships, the better it usually goes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The more you understand repetition, I keep saying, don't try to be all things to all people and move areas and products. Understand your niche market, understand the ordinance, and perfect your craft. Become an expert in whatever it is you do. So that is one thing we did. It was difficult, but at some point you start facing similar obstacles
Yeah.
where you know how to get through them.
Yeah. And people do always talk about the city planning when you're doing development and the neighbors do come out. But I've found that people who go to the meetings before they're ready to develop can really get a sense of what the community wants, meaning the people
Yeah.
on the council. And if you know what they're looking for and then you present a product that fits that, you're way, way closer to getting approved than if you try to come up with something mixed use, in what's generally not a commercial area. That would be an experience playing its hand. Have you seen that as well?
Yes. Where people didn't plan ahead of time, because if you know what the neighbor's objections are, sometimes you can address them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If it almost like having the answers to the test. Are they worried about parking,
Right.
density, design, height? If you know what their concern is and what the issue is, at least you can better plan for it.
Yeah,
So
and sometimes it's fair and sometimes it's not, NIMBYism, not in my backyard. But if you know what they're going to say is like, oh, it's going to create unusual traffic, and then you've built out the statistics, then there's not really much that they can say about it. And that's just smart and better planning, and also knowing if you're, say you're a month ahead and you're at a community meeting and they're talking about mixed use in a certain area and you happen to have land there and now you propose something mixed use. That's what everybody wants. So you're playing into their strengths instead of trying to, put a circle hole in a square peg in a circle hole.
yeah, absolutely. It's just that devoting a little bit of time before you go into these meetings. But certainly some markets are more difficult. Some areas, some cities,
Yeah.
some counties are more resistant to new development, and it takes longer, right? And I think that has to do a lot with pricing, land prices, and a lot to do with the marketability of some of these projects. So I think that this is something that I spend a lot of years understanding what you're able to do and understanding the economics of how some regions, some areas work, and where does it make sense to develop.
Yeah. I mean, there's investors out there who maybe they're looking for investment properties and then they get this light bulb moment that goes off and they say, oh, I'll just get a piece of land and develop it. Can you just explain how difficult that is just for your regular, investor? Maybe they've had a couple of properties, because we hear it all the time as if it's something easy to do, but it's very much not.
Yeah. This is not I think it's one of the most underestimated industries, whether it's construction or development. Something that anybody can do.
Yeah.
But I disagree. I mean, it takes a lot, like everything else. This is something that I often talk about. You need a license, you need education, you need training, you need a career, a degree in most activities. But in our business, there's very little barrier of entry.
Yeah.
You can raise some capital and buy a property. All of a sudden, you're a builder, you're a developer, you're an investor, and that doesn't necessarily qualify you.
Yeah.
to do it properly. And a lot of people, I've seen many smarter people than I am get in trouble in our business
Yeah.
because they don't know what they're doing. They
Yeah.
bought something assuming that the numbers worked, that the area worked, that the city, that the area was going to accept whatever development they wanted to propose, and they found out the hard way.
Yeah. Well, what's changed about the way that you look for land over your career? Because obviously that was a while ago. Now you have more capital, more experience. But when you're looking for land now, are you looking to build for single families or for development, build to rent, build to sell? What's your ideal type of dirt that you're going to look for now?
I try to be consistent in what I do. I don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
Imagine this is crazy. What I'm going to tell you, I've been in this business for 30 years, and I still don't try to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Why? That just hard. It's harder.
This is part of the magic that the successful investors and developers that I know stick to what they don't move around. You would think that after so many years, I would be involved in so many different things. And yes, I dabble. I'll invest in a multifamily deal with the right people, or in a commercial deal. But for example, I don't even move neighborhoods that much. I don't try to go to suburbs or counties where I've worked in, or cities where I don't understand, unless I walk in with a smaller investment, with the right team. But a lot of people do that, and they don't understand that just like law, let's say, or medicine, this is a very specialized business.
Yeah.
When you move price points, where you move areas, product, whether it's commercial, industrial, residential, multifamily, land development, whatever it is that you're doing within the industry of real estate, if you want to broker commercial or broker residential, different languages.
Oh, yeah. Not even close. Yeah.
Understand those differences.
Yeah.
And they try to appeal to multiple markets and try to be too many things, all things to all people, and it doesn't work. So one of the things that has worked for us has been sticking to what we understand and repeat it, and not try to reinvent the wheel. So to answer the question, we continue to look for developments that make sense to us, that fit within our wheelhouse. And if we ever get a little bit outside of the scope of work of what we understand, we try to partner with people that are experts in that area.
Yeah. So is there like an acreage requirement? Are you buying tear downs ever? Or are you just looking for raw land so you can do it all yourself?
Well, a little bit of everything. Of course, we're building mostly in areas that were already developed at some point.
Yeah.
Most of what we do is redevelopment.
Right.
We're not much in the business of buying a lot of raw land.
It's just not that available where you want it. I mean, just plots of big land anymore. I mean, I live in New Jersey. There's none.
No, it's still there. Over the years, we hear from suburban developers that it's getting more expensive, that it's getting more difficult.
Yeah.
There are new challenges. Before, you could buy hundreds and thousands of acres at a time, and redevelopment with relatively little number of headaches. But now it's getting to the point where even the larger developers are having some headaches. So we're sticking to some of the neighborhoods that we understand, and and what we've learned is that you need to stay informed. What the authorities are required, what the regulation, what the code, what the guidelines, and by now we kind of understand what kind of product works in the neighborhoods that we're looking in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. But by sticking to the same neighborhoods and the same products, you really know your exact costs. It's like, even, things come up in all deals, but if you've already done this product multiple times in this area, you know what your costs are, you know what your out value if you're selling, or what your rents are going to be. You really have it all designed because you have your own comps. You don't even really have to do the research anymore because you've already done it you have all these proof of concepts. So does that make it easier to close on the land? You really know exactly what's going to happen, barring some, act of God or something.
Yeah. And part of the benefit of having been in the business for a while and sticking to your area is that perhaps you can offer better terms to a seller.
Yeah.
Instead of taking too long to do your investigation and understanding what you're doing, you can have a little more information in advance. But it's incredible how everything changes from one area of town to another. We even go to the exchange of changing survey companies, engineering firms, law firms,
Yeah.
according to the neighborhood where we are building, because it is that specialized.
Yeah.
So back to your original question, I mean, everybody that I know that is successful in this industry is because they stick to what they know. We have friends that are strictly retail center developers, and they're very successful at it. They build dealerships. They do multifamily. They build duplexes. They build multi-million-dollar single family or entry level single family, or they focus just on developing land. So you have to pick your lane and try to stick to it and stay with it. Once you perfect it, start making money. Now that you've made it through that learning curve, that's the time to start making some money.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's listening and they have a couple properties, but they think they'd like to develop at some point, what do you think some of the best practice would be for them? Do they need to? I think it would be helpful if they met a developer and were able to really watch it go before. But people get anxious; they're on social media too much. How do they get involved so they know that they can get there someday without rushing it, like we were saying before, and just getting a property that they have no idea what they're going to do with?
Well, I always say that something more than money has to attract you in real estate for you to become successful. If you're just jumping into this business to make a quick buck, it rarely works.
Yeah, I agree.
The passion, the excitement fades away because it is difficult. It is competitive. It is saturated.
Yeah.
So if there's not an underlying desire for you to be in the real estate business other than to make money, chances are you're not going to stick to it. So step number one is you have to be attracted to the industry.
Yeah.
Number two, what area of the industry are you interested in? What is it that is bringing you to this business? And third of all, if you're lucky enough, maybe work under somebody's umbrella,
Yeah.
somebody's nickel, so that you can learn a little bit before you start trying to invest your own money, or bring in outside investors so that you don't gamble people's money without really knowing what you're doing. So start small, work for somebody, identify the sector of real estate that attracts you and that you understand. Little by little, you start growing and building and eventually going on your own. And those are the people that don't come in a rush and trying to make money right away, but they are trying to build a career.
Yeah.
Are the ones that eventually become very successful.
Yeah, I think land flipping is a great way to get in. As you said, you acquired too much, but I've had a lot of land flippers on the show. The bar to entry is very low. Your clients are going to be all developers, really, for the most part, unless they're doing something else. So then you can bridge the relationships, hop into a couple deals. And, the high-end developers, they're not sitting around, searching on Craigslist for land. So if you get good at acquisition, you can make a lot of good contacts, right?
And it's incredible. We're doing a lot of deals with large companies, even public companies.
Oh, okay.
They don't have the time.
Yeah.
They don't have the focus. They are builders by nature. So they are willing to pay a premium for people like us that will do the research, that
Right.
will come up with the headaches and deliver properties for them to develop, whether it's commercial or residential.
Right.
So there are opportunities, but it takes time and a little bit of effort.
Yeah. So for those people, you'll buy the land, entitle it, develop it, get everything ready, so it's basically shovel ready, and then that's a huge savings. They save a year of research. Of course, they'll pay well for that, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit of a gamble, obviously, because you have to spending time and money. but it pays off whenever the deal works.
Yeah. Well, that shows the scale, though. In the beginning, I'm sure you were just selling off the pieces of land, like you said. Hey, no problem, they'll figure it out. More work for them. More experience you have, the more you can get through. You understand how to entitle. You understand what can go there. So then when you have it shovel ready, you're telling them like, yeah, we're already approved for whatever 12 units. Someone can walk right into that. I've seen a lot of land, just on the MLS. They're with agents that aren't commercial agents. They don't know what they're doing with land, and there's no due diligence done, but they still want the money as if it was done. That's a problem here in New Jersey, and I'm sure in a lot of places, and that's why land can sit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years sometimes.
Yeah, and understand your financial capabilities, understand your time constraints, identify what kind of a developer and what kind of an investor you are. There are investors who will acquire the property and flip it and do very little, just onto it and understand that the growth is going in a certain direction. There are others that will probably just do the investigations, develop it on paper, and then flip it. There are others that will do both. They will develop it on paper, acquire it, take it to a certain level, flip it, or develop it and deliver shovel-ready lots. Obviously, each stage takes different types of effort, know-how, and capital. And if you identify those up front, perhaps you do a little better and you're better prepared.
Yeah.
So knowing what you're getting into always makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I would think, as you were saying, knowing who you're going to be selling to based on what you're doing. If you're going to get it shovel ready, you're going to have a lot of options because you can have people who have much more experience understand. If it's not, you really have a lot of options. You don't know who's coming into the game. You could get many, but thinking of that in advance will really help you decide what you want to do with it and also what you think the max revenue is going to be off of it, right?
Right. Having the contacts and the vision as well. What can this piece of land work for?
Yeah.
Having that understanding of what is the best utilization of a piece of land, because even that takes a little bit of experience, understanding some fundamentals, the traffic, the attractiveness, the appeal of the property. Every type of development requires different components and different ingredients. And in understanding, I mean, we learned the hard way, for example, in our earlier years, that a neighbor would make a difference, that the amount of traffic on a certain street would make the difference of whether this project would work or not. And in understanding what your consumer is willing to pay and who that consumer is.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's interesting because you go through the neighborhood dynamics, you look at, what the traffic patterns are, but things can change also if you're doing a lot in the area, and you can be the part of that change. And that's where maybe if you're, you have extra pieces, you're doing a development and you have 2 more that are waiting because well, if we get this one done, then these next 2 are going to immediately go up in value to give you more options. That really goes to your point of staying in the same area because your one project can affect other things that you might have in the pipeline in terms of value, right?
Yeah. We did a lot of that as well, where we noticed that we would buy a piece of property, develop it, and then the next one was much more expensive. And the reason why it was more expensive is because we developed the one close by. So we were the main costs of the next round of lots getting more expensive. So we started learning some lessons too, in new neighborhoods that we would get into. We would try to saturate and buy as many properties as we could without even putting our signs out, or without even letting the public know that there's a change going on in the neighborhood. And once you accumulate enough land, now you start developing it, and every phase, every step starts getting more expensive and more profitable. But yeah, it's incredible. Now this is not new to anybody. The moment that anybody realizes that there's development going on, land prices skyrocket.
Yeah.
That's why you see all these little pockets developing so quickly. and then they sit around because I think the prices get ahead of themselves. Everybody thinks that they want to sell you land at tomorrow's prices because there's already a little bit of development going on.
Yeah.
So we've learned those lessons on how to approach it and when do we go out and market our property, and when do we make an investment and keep it kind of quiet until the right moment.
Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this episode with Jose Berlanga. And if you're thinking land and development is in your future and you already have investment properties and you're looking to diversify, but you're a little messy in the books, contact my guy, Max Emery at Time Capital Bookkeeping and CFO Solutions. You can use my link at bit.ly, and that's always bit.ly/TCZen. There you can take a 2-minute quiz, and that will tell Max what you need. Let's get back to Jose. Yeah, and you have to know what else is potentially developable around you, because I've seen, on one street corner, they put up a 30-plex or something and it's nice, but then, whatever, D.R. Horton comes in, puts up a 50 or 100 unit across the street, and then those first 30, they're not as good. So not only did people buy in at max value when they bought them, but now theirs isn't really worth as much because somebody built something. You kind of have to know this stuff. As a resident, you might not, but as a developer, you can see it coming, as you said, because you know the area well.
Yeah. And perhaps that is probably one of the biggest issues in our business. Again, the barrier of entry. Many people come into our industry not knowing what to build, what to develop, what to pay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Prices, because they overpay, thinking that they're going to make a lot more money, and they don't understand the numbers, the way to put these deals together, and they end up crashing a market. So you just have to be ready for those and survive these cycles.
Yeah. How much harder is the kind of bureaucracy and the red tape now in terms of building? Because a lot of people read plenty of things that home building and the affordability crisis and lack of homes now is partly due to just bureaucratic issues. It's just hard to get things passed. Much harder than it was 25 years ago. Am I right about that?
Yes, and depends where. I think
of course.
in every county, every government agency has their own set of rules and their own pace and their own desire, perhaps, to either build and develop or create some barriers and limitations. So every area, every city is a little bit different. We're in an area where I think we're a little bit more pro business.
Yeah.
But certainly there are always a sequence of steps that have to be followed in order to get there, and you have to account for those. There are deals where everything goes according to schedule, and there are some that take much longer because those bureaucratic steps came about, and it all goes back to performing your due diligence, your examination process before you make an acquisition. So, but yeah, most of the country is getting a little bit tougher. I think everything got expensive very fast.
Yeah.
We all noticed after COVID, the pace in which properties and materials and construction got much more expensive in relation to wages. And I think at some point that is perhaps our biggest issue: affordability. There's a lot of buyers ready, willing, and able to buy homes with good credit, with a desire to buy a home, but they can't afford a house that they want. And we have another issue right now, which is cyclical. At some point, rental values start being a little bit more affordable than buying a home.
Yeah.
So and justify the acquisition, and that's just something that we have to be ready for. But it certainly has gotten much more expensive. I think that's very obvious that throughout the nation, owning a home, owning real estate has become a little bit more difficult
Yeah.
for the general public. Need
Yeah.
more,
Yeah.
you need good credit, you need to be able to afford it.
Yeah, and I mean it is. I think of it for my kids and for the next generations, but I think you're right. We're older, things are cyclical. You know, people who are 20, 30 years old, they haven't seen the cycles. I mean, obviously they remember 2008. They look at the pandemic. That was kind of like a weird odd reverse cycle, but I mean, I still remember growing up in the 70s and then obviously in the 80s when a lot of different things happen and you watch it and you'll figure it out. But the only way you can do that is like what you said before. You have to stay on top of the markets that you want to do and make sure that you know what's going on, because it will place you that far ahead of everybody else who's kind of peeking their head in once a year to see what happens. And you'll get better deals like that. The deals will come to you like that because what you're doing isn't something, that people in residential, just regular looking on the MLS to find a property. Like this is a years of relationship building that will bring you the deals now, right?
Yeah, and this is why in the downturn is when the opportunities.
Yeah.
Because when the market is hot, everybody wants to be in it. Everybody wants to be a builder and a realtor and a developer and an investor. So the long-term players understand this. They know that you have to average out your numbers. There's going to be years when you make a lot of money. There's going to be years when you don't make so much money. But that's the process. That's a period in which everybody's going to jump in,
Yeah.
mess up the market, let it happen, and move on, and just have the staying power. Have the ability to be there when things return. And I think we're facing one of those right now. We're at a period in time when things are beginning to come back. We've had a couple of very, very difficult years for a number of reasons.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you're in Texas, so Texas, it goes year to year. It's either best place to buy or, oh, wait, values went down, or rents went down per capita because building starts and stops a lot, similar to Florida. So it's interesting because Texas is always at the forefront of like great place to buy. And then the next year they're telling you, hey, wait, slow down. And you're like, but I just bought a lot. That obviously helps. But again, it comes in cycles and it also based on news that isn't necessarily specific to your area, but consumers can think it is.
Yeah, there's enough supply in Texas where inflation doesn't kick in as fast as in other places.
Yeah.
So there's enough supply where our prices don't skyrocket as quickly as they do in other areas. So we're not necessarily as profitable, but it is a safer market.
Yeah.
The Texas is historically been a better, safer place to build and to develop than other ones. But the downside is, you have to stick around. You have to do more volume in order to compensate for the profit margins that you experience in other states.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about your book, Dirt Rich. I mean, who's the person who's going to get the most out of it? Obviously, someone who's interested in investing and development are going to get a great thing. But who's going to read this and like, oh, they're going to be able to just put it right into action?
I think every investor and anybody who enjoys the business of real estate, there's always an interesting transition where most brokers or realtors eventually want to go into the investment and into the development side of things. And it's a book that's just it's a boring subject written in a fun way.
Well, the best investments are boring, right? I mean, we know that.
Yeah. So I try to combine the stories and anecdotes and a little bit of my experiences. It's a spin-off of the first book, The Business of Home Building. The first one talks not about building homes, but how to build a business that builds homes. And this one, since the time that I started building homes, part of it was speculating in land, investing, speculating, developing. Most of my career has had something to do with that area. And I like to honor land. Most people don't understand that this multi-trillion-dollar industry of real estate whether you're building an airport, a city, a community, a multifamily unit, or whatever it is that you're doing, an entertainment center, everything begins with a proper selection of a piece of dirt.
Yep.
Where, how, what to pay, how to develop it. Everything in our communities, in the real estate world, as we know it, begins with selecting a piece of land.
Yeah.
So
I was just thinking that too, because I was thinking about it just in terms of value, and everybody looks at big buildings and, big malls, and they forget that underneath everything, every business that's running, there's always, like you said, dirt, an Amazon warehouse, dirt underneath. Somebody was smart enough to get that in play. Like, I'm sure people are trying to do it in advance for data centers, even though they're trying to pop up everywhere. My dad was a buyer of weird land. Like, I still own one piece that I'm trying to develop. And he was thinking like that. If I have the real estate underneath, eventually somebody may be able to do it. And because I got it for so cheap, what's my loss over time? Someone else may just take it and speculate as well.
Exactly. And buildings come and go, houses come and go, buildings get torn down, but the land beneath remains all the time. And something that we've learned over the years, I think everybody underestimates that the appreciation of properties is due to land in its location.
Mm-hmm.
You can when you look at a house back in the 60s or 70s, technically, financially, even tax-wise, the structure on it depreciates.
Yeah.
All right, you can depreciate.
Wear and tear. Yeah.
Eventually, it's worth nothing. But one day, that piece of land where a house sits that it's ready to be torn down is worth many, many more times.
Yeah.
So you tell me what was the real value, the land.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot about that, about valuing, understanding, utilization, and the process of understanding why certain pieces of property increase in value faster than others. So it's always been a fun topic for me.
Yeah, and it is kind of fun speculation to try to pick where the path of progress might goes. But because if you're just buying the land from, going all the way back, your barrier to entry is limited. And if you just say, like, I'll hold it for 10 years and see what happens, and then all of a sudden, you look around and now there's, a Benjamin Moore moves in or a Starbucks moving, like, you're cashing in, because you just picked right areas. I was always good at buying homes to live in, because I would pick the area that I knew was going to be next, and then I would double my money quickly. And people say, how do you do that? I paid attention, like you said. I'm in my local market. Don't you think that's one of the most important things for new investor, any investor? You really have to, not just live in your market or be there. You have to always kind of be obsessing about it and looking at where the path of progress is, because that's where you're going to find the best deals in land and everything else.
Having a vision. Yes, having a vision where the movement, where the growth, where the economic growth. Some people do that research.
Yeah.
What is going on in my economy? What headquarters are moving in? What industries? What companies? What developers are? What the general economic aspect of your area. And we've noticed that that's also a very, very interesting subject, because it's a very long subject, by the way. When you buy a home in an already established neighborhood, obviously is more expensive, but the appreciation is slower than when you buy in a more transitional neighborhood, because as they start building more and more, you enjoy the increasing value of inflation plus the beautification of the neighborhood. So you get double impact.
Yeah, but you do get maybe double the risk, though, too, which is the speculation part.
Doesn't go in that direction.
Right. Can't win them all.
Exactly. So you have to know. You have to kind of be ready for risk reward aspects. But also something that we've learned the hard way is that when the economy goes back, when those cycles flip, the transitional neighborhoods are the first ones to slow down.
Yeah, yeah.
And the reason is that in transitional neighborhoods, buyers buy not because they want to live there, but because of two reasons. They can afford it,
Yep.
and because they think they're going to make money on it.
Yep.
Okay. So when the economy goes bad, those two factors go away. But in the nicer, already established, developed, and fancier neighborhoods, they don't care if the economy is going well or bad. They want to be there because they want to be there, because the homes are fancy, because it already looks pretty.
Yeah.
They can afford it. So those are some of the aspects that we have learned over the years, that you have to understand those risks, that when an economy is growing, it's okay to build in those transitional neighborhoods because everybody wants to be in those.
Yeah.
But they're the first ones to slow down when the economy turns.
Yeah. Well, but I bet it provides an opportunity for that mid-range investor who kind of knows like, yeah, well, it's slowing down now, but that's not going to stop. And the people get nervous, and that's a great capitalization when there is a slowdown, but no, the neighborhood's solid. It's going to just be on pause for a year. That's probably a good opportunity for somebody like you to say, hey, if you want to get rid of those, at cost, we'll pick them up. And, you have more experience to know it's still going to go in the right direction, because those neighborhoods do pause. It's not, some do goes backwards, but that's more in cities. Like I've seen that in Philadelphia where people, because it's so block by block, someone will say, oh no, I think we're there. And then, nope, you weren't there. And it could just be a 1 block radius. I'm sure you've seen that in Houston as well. But the more you know it, the more you can pick up that kind of mid-range speculator who didn't do as well or gets scared, which I think those are great to buy from when they have fear and better.
Yeah, now you're talking about a whole nother subject, even more interesting subject, which is capital reserves.
Yeah.
Fortunes are made during downturns.
Yep.
Most people get very aggressive when things are going well. Even the mature, the experienced developers sometimes get a little bit excited.
Yeah.
You don't know how good it's going to do and for how long it's going to go. So you keep building, you keep growing because you don't want to leave money on the table. And a lot of developers forget to have some capital reserves. If you don't deploy them, you may miss opportunities.
Yeah.
Economy continues to do well.
Yeah. But it's not, it
slow down. Now you don't have any capital.
Exactly.
To take advantage of.
Right. I was saying you always want to have some capital to deploy.
Correct.
That's just, you have to be.
It's hard to estimate.
Yeah.
How much to have.
Yeah.
So that's part of the excitement of this business, that nobody knows exactly when things are going to, when the music is going to stop.
Yeah.
And for how long is it going to stop? So
yeah.
That's part of the trick,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
My partner's came to visit. Come on.
Yeah.
There's my partner.
There you go. How's it going?
How you doing?
Yeah, good.
He's even more knowledgeable in the land department than I am.
I wouldn't say that, but
he's the one making more deals than I am.
Yeah, well, it like you said, you're stockpiling and make sure that you have time to deploy, and the right partners to deploy with is really what makes sense. And it takes a long time to build that up, know who you can trust, and build up the things that will work together, especially when you're in these markets that you already know. But it's not easy. Like we were saying from the beginning, I think a lot of people look at it and this is more aspirational. How can you guys help people who want to get into it? Like what are a couple of the next steps before we hop off? They're obviously going to get in, read the book, but I feel like they just have to know other developers. There's no other way to do it because you're just not going to know anything.
Well, and again, it's your appetite, your level of excitement, and how deep your pockets are, how much you want to risk, how much experience you have. But I think baby steps are always recommended. We've done so many transactions over the years of different levels, different sizes, different areas of town. But we're even after, we have probably between the two of us, we have over 50 years of experience and we're still very cautious.
Yeah.
45 are his and 5 are mine.
Yeah.
Jonathan, I don't want to steal away anything of this conversation, but I've been listening quite a bit, and I will tell you one thing that Jose has not mentioned that I think is pretty important, and it's one of the things that really, to me, him as my partner is one of the things that he brings to the table, and his reputation.
Yeah.
His reputation with lenders, his reputation with brokers, his reputation with land owners, and the word of mouth. Faster than it goes around. And when he was my mentor, because again, he's much older than I am.
I look like a baby.
There was one thing that has always stuck in my mind, and the one that I can tell you is that when I would ask certain things about being hard assets on certain level of negotiations, myself at least, he would always come back and he would say to me, "But is it the right thing? Are we doing the right thing? Let's make sure we don't, we look after our interests without screwing the other, let's make sure we do the right thing, because call it karma, call it word of mouth, call it reputation. In the end, it does come back to you, And I think if you do right by brokers, if you do right by banks, if you do right by landowners, they will bring you other deals. They will talk well about the way that you do business, and it'll pay off more than you realize. So don't kill the salesperson or the broker or anybody on a deal just to make a buck on that one, because that one can bring you 2, 3, 4, 5 more deals in the future. So they'll always try to make a killing on just one deal. Try to make sure that that this is a long-term business and you can continue to do a lot more with the same people you're talking to.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Yeah, but that's how you build the reputation. I mean, I've seen, you see $3 million deals and somebody's arguing over $10,000. You're like, just be the person who just does take it. It's 10,000 is fine. Like, we just want to make it easy. But you make a really good point. I think that you have to find people who have good relationships and reputations, so you can, partner with them, know them, become friends with them, because that will put you in a better circle. And then, as you said, it makes every deal go smoother when everybody knows you and knows that you're a closer and you're not going to kind of, mess around at all.
It's hard enough to find land. I've heard you guys talking earlier about how difficult it is to find land. So if you screw one people here, it becomes even harder and harder. So when you do right by people, the land comes to you. I can tell you that Jose and I, for the past 5, 6, 7 years, we rarely have gone ourselves after something. Right. And we make it work. And that's the best way to work, not looking for the stuff yourself, but, having people brokers, bankers call us and it's like, hey, this guy's going out of business. He's got this, or a broker.
Building contacts.
It's having people feed you opportunities is really very important. And look, I hate paying stupid amounts of money to wholesalers, but if the deal works, who cares?
Yeah.
Don't worry about what someone else is making.
I agree. That's a really good point. And I mean, I always rail on wholesalers, but sometimes they don't know the value either. And it's not, if the deal works for me and they make a 50,000 spread, that's not my problem. Like, as long as the price works for me, they got a good deal. That's just how it works. It doesn't work where I am, but in other areas it can work. So I think that's a good point.
No. It doesn't matter. As long as you understand your numbers, what you should pay and what makes sense. It doesn't matter but building it's incredible how quickly you can build a good name. This is something that asked very often. How do you find land? How do you find good deals? How do you find the right deal? And at first you have to knock on doors. You have to move, you have to call, you have to drive neighborhoods. But the moment you start closing some of them, it's amazing how things flip. And all of a sudden you start having brokers, agents, investors, neighbors starting to bring good deals to you.
Yeah, because you have proof. I mean,
Yeah.
it's true. It's great that you're around, you build the relationships, but at some point you have to hop in the ring so you can tell people, yeah, no, that one I bought that, and they can look it up in the records and know, like, oh, actually, they're telling the truth.
Oh, and they pass the word around. This is a business, although it's a big world. It's a very small environment where
Oh, I agree.
other. And the moment you start becoming known for a closer, people don't want to waste time bringing deals to someone who does not have their act together. They
Yeah.
can't. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how they're going to put the deal together. So they might as well go with a path of least resistance. So the moment you have a good track record, you're going to start attracting and start with a small one.
Yeah.
Little by
Right.
little, are growing into bigger deals.
By the way, guys, it's not only the landowners or the brokers, it's also the engineers that are going to do your due diligence. You know, if somebody quotes you, I don't know, let's call it on a large 200-acre deal, right? Or a smaller deal, whatever the case may be. If you negotiate enough that you think you're getting a deal, you're really not, because all they're doing is putting you in the back of the line.
Right.
To get the answers or the feedback that you really want to get. So
Yeah.
they overpay, but let them make their money. You know, don't
pay what it's worth.
There is a market value for the work they
services.
do, and I have a friend of mine who's a gynecologist, and it takes him about 15 minutes to get a baby out, if not 5, and charges $15,000. And on some lives like that, you make good money. And it's like, yeah, you're not considering the 21 years it took me to be able to do that, right? So I'm not charging for the 15 minutes. I'm charging for the 21 years that I had to study to get to where I am, and that's the same case with an engineer, or an architect, or, a broker that you don't know how many deals he have to go to get to that one deal where he's making money. Let him.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to work with the best, you have to pay for it. But one thing I think that's important before we hop off, once you've built that reputation as a closer, the interesting thing is you get the deals that fall apart from other people, and they need someone, because now everybody's pressured. A deal that falls apart 2 weeks before closing, now everybody's pressured. They're going to come right to the closer, and it's going to be all teed up, ready to go. Titling's done. Maybe everything's kind of ready. And if it works for you, you can plug right into those deals because there's not many people that they can trust to come in and look at it.
And they will bend this out backwards for you too.
Yeah, because you're saving the whole deal. I mean, that you can only be in that position if you've built the reputation of someone who can go to, and they know they don't want to mess it up, so they're going to come to you with a pretty good deal.
Building the right team.
We just paid $100,000 more for a development deal for the right guy than the one that came out cheaper, because guy made more sense. He did well on a project not too long ago. He did right by us in many, many ways. Then when he brought us the quote, $100,000 more than the one guy that does a decent job.
Yeah.
We said, let's go. Let's pay that extra $100,000, because that extra $100,000 is going to save us 2 months, 3 months, 4 months.
And certainty. Knowing,
certainty.
so find the right people to help you, and you will probably grow a little bit faster than if you want to cut corners and save some money.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Well, tell me your name, since Jose just popped you right in. All I know is you about the partner.
Patrick Burbridge. He's a partner in many companies. And he's also much more savvy in the brokerage and sales and marketing.
He just told us he's so young. He's like half your age, he's trying to say.
It's all for men, I just do that. No, I am about nine years younger than Jose, but he and I are honestly, I look the same because, I got all the stress.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
But I will say this, Jose is much more than my business partner. He's a very good friend of mine, very close friend of mine. He was my mentor for many, many years. Now that's kind of switched over, and I'm mentoring him as he gets older.
I'm slowing things down.
Okay.
He does a hard work.
You just brought it up. Partner up with people that you want to have dinner with.
Yeah.
That's another important one. You partner with someone if you
don't like them, it's not going to be a good partnership. That's for sure.
Don't only go for the monetary part of it. It needs to be somebody that you truly enjoy, aside from the business aspect of it, that you enjoy the company. We only have one life.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it only for money, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. You know, and if you're partnering people just for the money or what they bring to the table without the relationship part of it, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I can tell you, Jose and I have been not partners, but have been working together for about 25 years in many aspects.
Yeah.
And I still consider one of my more than my friend, my brother, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there it is.
And I'll say one last thing. Team up not only with people that you trust, that you have affinity with, but that also complements some of your talents.
Yeah, it's a great point.
And that can overcome some of your weaknesses so that you can share responsibly and successfully a lot of the responsibility.
I'm not responsible. He makes me responsible. So I am a little more aggressive on land deals. So I push him to do deals that he wouldn't do without me. And he stops me from doing deals that maybe I shouldn't do because he knows better. So it is a good balance, if that makes sense.
Always partner with people that can help you, get to the step.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Jose, is the best place for people to get information about you and your books at joseberlanga.com?
Yeah, that's it. Hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more social media. I keep saying that.
Yeah.
To start putting myself out there in the form of videos.
Yeah.
Or fun stuff, but I will eventually start marketing my books.
Yeah. Well, this is a good start. So we're going to tell them about it again. It's Dirt Rich, Explore the World of Land Investing and Development. And the book before that was The Business of Home Building, How to Start and Operate a Residential Construction Company. Jose, thanks so much. As always, appreciate it. Second time back. And you brought a partner this time. That was awesome. Really appreciate it.
Rich and City Quest and Jose Berlanga, which we share a list of companies that we probably shouldn't even get into it. Thank you so much, Jonathan.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate it. All right. That was Jose Berlanga. You'll find him at joseberlanga.com. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 320 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. It's Ryan Cadwell of Resolute Realty Development Management. What do they do? Full service real estate brokerage in Indianapolis, specializing in residential, commercial, and investment property management. They combine real estate investment expertise with pro management service. That helps clients maximize returns and minimize stress. We'll see you next episode with Ryan.